Hey everybody, and happy Monday. As always, if you have your morning coffee still, please feel free to enjoy it with me. And today is the final day of February. We are rolling into March, which is the end of quarter number one. And spring is on the way, so very excited about that. As you come on, please, as always, drop into the comments below hi and where you are tuning in from, and hashtag live or hashtag replay. If you are coming in on the replay, feel free to tag some people, share this video, and please, as always, to support me and obviously the content I'm providing, please like, love, support, insightful, whatever emojicon you want to use from wherever you are watching, like and love this video. And one other quick announcement, if you're not in one of our private Facebook groups, Nancy and I are doing our first simple content creation 3-day free masterclass coming up at the end of March. It's March 28th through March 30th. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Tatiana. Good to see you jumping on. So again, as you jump on, please do say hi and where you're coming in from. So anyone that would like to take part in our free 3-day simple content creation workshop, just drop an I do in the comments below, whether you are live or on the replay, and we will send you that registration link. What up, Greg? Good to see you jumping on. And we did 2 of these last year, and they went phenomenally well. There's a lot of people that struggle. And Tatiana, we will send that out to you, not a problem. There's a lot of people that said that they struggle coming up with not only content to create, but how to streamline the process, make yourself omnipresent on social media, and repurpose multiple pieces of content that you can create so you can work smarter and not harder. And that's what we're going to teach you in this 3-day masterclass. You know, how to pick your content buckets, how to create your content, how to streamline the process, how to repurpose, how to schedule all your content out in about an hour a week. And then obviously we're doing some live Q&A with people. So it's March 28th through March 30th. It's a Monday through Wednesday. Now, the way that we're doing it this time is Monday and Tuesday are 90-minute sessions. So they're 8 to 9:30 Eastern, live and recorded on private Zoom. So you do need to sign up to get that Zoom. And Wednesday is a 60-minute full-on Q&A session with myself and Nancy. So again, if you would like to register, drop an I do in the comments below, and we will get you that link to sign up. So what we're going to be going over today, and hey, Mark, good to see you jumping on. So again, as you're coming on, hi and where you're coming in from. So a big question that I get from people, and I actually did a poll over the weekend and asking, when you are sent a connection request, do you prefer people adding a note or not? And overwhelmingly, I think there's been almost 80 votes already within the first 2 days. Overwhelmingly, people said, yes, they prefer a note. Now, everyone is different. So I'm not going to say someone is right and someone is wrong as far as whether they want to add a note or not. So a lot of people, you know, when they're going to send connection requests on LinkedIn, hey, John, good to see you jumping on, my friend. And I will absolutely send that out to you, not a problem. So when people are on LinkedIn and they're looking to grow their network, and you're going and you're sending, you know, you're searching for targeted connections and you're sending those connection requests, LinkedIn gives you this option saying, would you like to add a personalized note? It will raise the chances of the person connecting. Now, what I'll tell you is this. There are a couple different beliefs around this. Now, I'm going to give you my personal belief and the 3 instances where you want to add a note. And I'm going to show you some examples. I actually have my profile pulled up that I'm going to show you some of the notes that have been sent to me, why I like them and why I don't. And I'll explain why. So there was a study done by actually a third-party marketing company. And what this marketing company found out, and they found this out, and what they did was, collectively as a group, they sent out thousands of connections without a note, and thousands of connections with a note. And at the end of that study, they found that the acceptance rate of connections being sent with a note and without a note were just about the same. So there's no more advantage to sending a note than not sending out. And there's a lot of people that feel differently, but again, I go by facts are friendly. If a study was done, I'm going to go by that. And Rochelle, good to see you jumping on. And Greg says, I don't at all, rarely useful info in the note. And yeah, and I'm going to go over that. And Greg brought up a great point. So again, if you're coming on late, please do say hi and where you're tuning in from. Like, love, support this video. Share it, tag some people. And again, for those that want to take part in our 3-day simple content creation masterclass, it's a 3-day free workshop that we're doing March 28th through March 30th, end of next month. Just drop an I do in the comments below and we will get you that registration link. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the 3 instances where you actually want to add a note, and then I'm going to show you some examples of notes that have been sent to me, why I would accept it and why I wouldn't. And again, I want you guys to be very open-minded because there's a lot of people that feel differently. They want to personalize every single connection request. But here's the big thing. I'm a work smarter, not harder type of person. So if I really feel that I'm going to have a good connection with someone, I'm just going to hit connect and send. And whether they accept or not, it's no skin off my back. I don't care either way. If they accept the connection, great. I can start building the relationship. If they don't, that's also fine. They're not interested. Adding a note and putting some sort of verbiage in there as a hook to try to get them to accept. I'm not trying to convince anyone to accept my connection request. So that's the one thing that I want you guys all to think about. Are you adding a note based on something that someone told you to try to convince that person to accept your connection request? So again, think about, am I working harder or am I working smarter? So there's 3 instances where I feel you should add a connection request when you're doing that, adding a note. Now, the first instance where you want to do that is if you know that individual personally. If you know them, maybe you're connected to them on Facebook. Maybe you're connected to them on Instagram. Maybe you're friends from the past. You were old work colleagues, or, you knew them at some juncture in your life and they came up in a search, or you found them on LinkedIn and you send them a connection request. So, prime example, say, John and I worked together at an old company 10, 12 years ago. And I was just doing some searches on LinkedIn and John came up. I'm like, oh man, there's John. So, I would send him a connection request and I would personalize that note. Hey, John, so great to see you pop up here. I know it's been a while since we spoke when we both worked at XYZ company. Would love to connect with you here on LinkedIn. Have a great day. And then I would send the connection request. That is a prime example of how using the adding of a note feature is effective. Because again, you're sending that connection request to someone that you know. Maybe, and you haven't spoken to them in years, it's a great way to restart the connection and the relationship. Adding a hook to a random connection request, someone that you don't know. And again, John said, and this is exactly why, John said, I would appreciate that. But if John gets say John and I don't know each other and I send him some random connection request, hey John, your profile looks pretty interesting, or hey John, I saw that we're both in the same profession, would love to add you to my network. how is that going to entice John to say, you know what? Okay, I'll accept that. Again, if I was just to send that connection request to John if we didn't know each other, he's either going to look at my profile and say, you know what? Scott seems pretty interesting. I'm going to accept that connection request. Or, I like his headline. I like what he does. Let me see what he's all about. I'll accept that. Me writing some sort of hook, adding a note, isn't going to make it any more or any less. And again, John said, no. I mean, I don't want to receive a connection request like that. I would rather just receive the connection request or not at all. So if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the comments below. Again, if you've come on late, please do say hi and where you're tuning in from, or hashtag live, hashtag replay if you're watching on the replay. And again, if you haven't done so already, my wife Nancy and I are doing a 3-day free simple content creation workshop at the end of March. It's the 28th through the 30th. It's a Monday through a Wednesday at night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, all 3 nights, completely free. If you would like to attend, just drop an I do in the comments at any point, live or on the replay, and we will get you that registration link. So again, make sure that if you're going to send a connection request and you're going to add that note, you should know the person, that individual, you should know them personally. So that's number one. Number two, if you were referred to connect with them by a mutual connection or colleague. So let me give you an example. And I'm just going to use the example of some people that are on here right now. So say I'm a work colleague of John's, and John is connected to Rochelle. And John and Rochelle spoke, and, through conversation, Rochelle said, she was looking to learn LinkedIn, blah, 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 this, that, or the other. And John says, listen, you should connect with my buddy and my colleague, Scott. This is all he does. He focuses on teaching people how to use LinkedIn. Just send him a connection request and mention my name. And that was the reason for why you reached out and that you were interested. Now, so again, think about that. So then Rochelle sends me a connection request, right? Finds me, searches for me, and then hits, connect. And then she hits add a note. And she adds that note and she says, hey, Scott, a mutual connection and friend of ours, John Pittman, mentioned that you help people with LinkedIn, and we were discussing this, and, would love to connect further and hear how you help people, looking forward to being connected. So I'm going to receive that connection request. Why wouldn't I accept that? That is a warm connection. So Rochelle made mention that she knew me through our mutual connection because that was brought up in conversation. So now I'm receiving that connection request, and it's making mention of how we know each other and the context of the conversation and why they wanted to connect with me. I'm absolutely going to accept that connection request. So again, if you are referred to, or you have to make, if you're going to send a connection request to someone, bridge the gap, right? Make sure there's some sort of connection point between you and that other person. So if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the comments below. Again, if you've come on late, please do say hi and where you're tuning in from, or hashtag live, hashtag replay if you're watching on the replay. And again, tag some people, share this video out, private page, your personal page, wherever you want, so it can help more people. So again, this is the second of 3 reasons, and I'm going to show you some examples after I go through the third and final one. So again, just to recap, number one, if you know that individual personally, mention that in your note. The second thing, if you were referred to that person by another connection or colleague. Now, the third and final. If you found the person via their business, maybe you read that person's book. Maybe you listened to a podcast episode. Maybe you heard them at a speaking engagement, whether it was online or in person. Maybe you attended one of their events. Maybe you were at a networking event together, right? Maybe you attended a workshop that they were hosting. Make mention of that. Make mention of that. Now, I'm doing a couple live speaking events coming up in April, and I know John's going to be there. And just to kind of give you an example, say that John and I didn't know each other prior to him seeing me speak at this networking event that I'm going to be speaking at. Okay, so I'm going to give you the context. So I speak at this event. John's in the audience. I'm teaching about LinkedIn, this, that, or the other. John, grabs his phone while I'm speaking, finds me, sends me a connection request, adds a note and says, "Hey, Scott, I'm actually attending your speaking event right now on LinkedIn, at XYZ speaking event. Would love to connect on LinkedIn." So now I'm making mention of that. Rochelle is an avid listener of my podcast. She can find me on LinkedIn, send me that connection request. "Hey, Scott, I'm an avid listener of your podcast, Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Love all your useful tips and all the stuff that you bring to your episodes. Would love to connect on LinkedIn." Tatiana read one of my books. "Hey, Scott, I just finished reading XYZ book of yours. I thought it was so great and helpful. Would love to connect with you here on LinkedIn." So there's a personal connection between me and that person. So say Greg and I were at a networking event together. We were rubbing shoulders and this, that, or the other. Sends me a connection request. "Hey, Scott, it's Greg. We were at the same networking event last night together. Would love to connect here on LinkedIn." Make mention of that. Sending a blanketed note to a connection request saying, "Oh, Rochelle, I see that we're both in the same industry. Would love to add you to my network." "Oh, hey, John, looks like we're on similar paths in work and life. Would love to add you to my network." "Oh, hey, Tatiana, looks like you're doing big things in XYZ space. Would love to add you to my network." I'm sorry. It's again, you're not selling or pitching, which a lot of people end up doing in these connection requests in the notes. But there's still no connecting point. I don't know you. You don't know me. You're just making a mention of some aspect of why we should connect, but that's not going to lead me any more or less to hit that connect button. It's not. Now, if you try to sell and pitch me, now that's a big no-no. Now, how many of you type "I have" if you've ever received a connection request from someone that adds a note and they try to sell and pitch their service in that connection request note? Type "I have" if you have experienced that. Now, my number one no-no is just that. It's just that. If you're going to send a connection request to someone and you're going to add a note and you try and sell and pitch to that person, and Tatiana said I had, I believe Mark says I have, and it's the easiest way to say no. Absolutely. John has, I have, almost. That is the easiest way, as Mark said, that's the easiest way to say no or ignore. Because again, that person's not even interested in you, in what you do, or connecting with you. They're just looking to get a sale. And that's not how you build connection, rapport, and trust on social media, especially on LinkedIn. Greg says I have as well. So the big thing, and it is so annoying. And Becky says I have. Yeah, I mean it's not fun. Mark says they usually have never read information to see what I'm currently doing. Yeah, they haven't. I mean, take the time. So again, don't sell and pitch. Now I'm going to give you some examples. So if this has made sense so far, drop a Y or a yes in the chat box. Now again, work smarter, not harder. If you're interested in connecting with someone, don't say, "Hey, you look really interesting, would love to connect." Just send the connection request. Just send the connection request unless you know that person or that individual personally. Or if you were referred to connect with them by a mutual connection or a colleague, or if you found that person via their business, it could be their book, their podcast, speaking event, networking event, something of that nature. So good. Now, again, if you're coming on late, say hi and where you're tuning in from. And again, just as a reminder, March 28th through March 30th, my wife and I are doing a free 3-day simple content creation masterclass, teaching you how to create content, establish your content buckets, build out your content structure, scheduling your content out, repurposing your content, and giving you that system to put in place. If you would like to attend, completely free, just drop an I do in the comments below, and we will get you all registered. Now, so I'm going to show you some examples of some connection requests that I have gotten that they've added a note, and I'm going to break down why I would or would not accept the connection request. And as I go through each one, I want you to type in the chat box and what you think I would say, or if you would or if you would not. And John, I'll send that out to you. So as I go through these examples, I want you to type as I'm reading it to you. Just type in I would or I would not. If you would or would not accept that connection request that has that note based on what we went over today. So, and it's going to be a little game. So if you guys are ready to play this little game, type I am ready in the chat box and I will share my screen and we will dive into this. So remember, I'm going to give you a couple examples based on what we went over today. If you would accept that connection request, type I would. And if you wouldn't, type I would not. So if you're ready, type I am ready, and I will share my screen and we will dive into this. We're going to do a little fun exercise just so you can put all of these pieces of the puzzle together. So the examples I gave. All right, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen. And again, all you have to do is write I would or I would not. All right, so let me bring this up and I'm going to give you these examples. Okay. So, here is the first one. Hi, Scott. I'm Sadiq, a lead generation expert, in quotes. I have just seen your profile and I am really very impressed. I would like to add you as my network connection. I really love to add lead generation experts in my connection. Love to connect. Regards. Now, would you or would you not? Would you or would you not? Now, and I'll tell you after you write your answer what my answer would be and why. Because again, I've seen plenty of this. So Becky said she's ready. So I would or I would not. John says he would not. He would not. So I'm going to wait for a couple more answers and I'm going to tell you exactly why I would or I would not. And again, I'm gonna go deep with this because you need to understand conceptually why you should and why you should not. Now, here's what I would do. I would not. I would not. Reason being is I can smell a sales pitch coming from a mile away. I can smell a sales pitch coming from a mile away. Because again, I know the minute because I can read right through this, right? I'm a lead generation expert. So I know exactly where this is going to go. I'm going to accept that connection request, and guess what? He's going to try to pitch me and sell me on how he can help me generate more leads for my business. I could see it from a mile away. So that is why I would not accept that connection request. Okay. Next. Vishal. Hi. We do all the work related to LinkedIn lead search, B2B lead gen, local lead generation, business lead generation, and web searches, data entry, email lead generation. I also work with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Fiverr, Upwork. Here are my links. Thank you. Would you or would you not? Would you accept that connection request? Would you or would you not? And we have one more after this. Would you or would you not? And John says, accept and automation takes over. Absolutely. And that is a giveaway. Nope. No way. Yep. So John says no. Shirley says no. So again, biggest rule of thumb. Biggest rule of thumb. Never, ever sell or pitch your services when you're connecting with someone that you don't know when you add a note on LinkedIn. There is a 0.00% chance that I would ever accept that connection request. That is a 100% no way. No way. How does this person know I even need help with anything? I don't care what you do. If you want to connect with me, send me a connection request. Let's have a genuine message back and forth to see if we're interested in getting on a phone call. Then you can tell me about all what you do and if it could benefit me or if I could benefit you in any way. So, and Shirley says, I like the ignore button. I love the ignore button too. So, to kind of go off of the ignore button really quickly, anyone that you feel is harassing you, this is a prime example where they're just trying to sell and pitch, you can hit that ignore button because, again, most likely they're not just doing it to you. You could just hit the ignore button. Now, I'm going to give you the third and final example, and I want you to type I would or I would not. Okay? I would or I would not. So, here is the final one. Hi, Scott. How are you doing? I enjoyed the live you did yesterday about organic leads. Thanks for adding value for your followers. I haven't been active on LinkedIn for many years, but I'm growing a business now, and your content is very helpful for me. I'd like to connect on LinkedIn. Would you or would you not accept that connection request? Would you or would you not accept that connection request? Now, depending upon what your answer is going to be, I want to know why. Based on what we've already gone over, the three instances in where you want to, and John says, I would absolutely. Rochelle says, I would. Awesome. Shirley says, most likely. Okay. That's not a no. That's not a yes. That's right in the middle. And I'm going to give you my answer. But specifically, Rochelle and John, why would you? What's the main reason? What was between the other two that we just read in that one? What was the reason why? What was the reason why you would accept that connection request? Because again, I'll tell you if I would or would not. And Becky says I would. So Becky, why would you? And Greg says yes. So Greg, why would you? So John, Rochelle, Becky, Greg, why would you? What was the main reason why in reading that and hearing that? What made you sway to the other side to say, you know what? That is a connection request that I would accept. And John says it was personal and she referenced specific content. Okay, awesome. So again, this is helpful to everyone. So what made you say, yes, I would love to connect with that person. That is someone that I would love to connect with. Now, Rochelle says they reference your LinkedIn videos, genuinely curious and personally interested in your content. So this is a 100%, that is an accept. That is someone I would 100% accept, which I just did. And Jeff said because I would, because they are talking about Connectee. Yep. What that person did is exactly what I said in number 3. If that person found you via their business, she found me via my business, book, podcast, speaking engagement, networking event, my content, and she made mention of that. So as you're sending connection requests out on LinkedIn, start to think about this. Before you hit connect, before you add that note, run it through that filter. Do I know this person personally? Was I referred to connect to this person by a mutual connection or colleague? Did I find that person via their business, book, podcast, speaking event, content they've posted on LinkedIn? How do I know them? If that person doesn't fall within one of those 3 criteria, just hit connect. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They don't accept. It's not a big deal. So again, if you've come on late, hi and where you're coming in from. If you're on the replay, #replay. If this has helped, type it has and what your biggest takeaway from today was. Also, as a reminder, for anyone that would like to register for our free 3-day simple content creation workshop from March 28th to March 30th, please do type I do in the comments below at any time, and we will send you out that registration link to get you all signed up, where we're going to teach you all about strategizing your content for social media, repurposing, content buckets, engaging content, and working smarter and not harder. So again, everyone, I hope this content has helped. I hope it's moved that needle forward for you. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.